study, and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't clone you, but it can streamline your hiring workflow. From posting jobs to shortlisting candidates to interviewing, LinkedIn Hiring Pro is the hiring partner you need, so you can focus on connecting with the right talent. In fact, small businesses report saving over 6 hours per week. So hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Hi, everyone. Before we jump into the season 14 finale, I wanted to share a quick announcement. DNA Surprises will be taking a short summer break during July and August. I'm excited to come back in September, refreshed, recharged, and with more stories from the NPE, adoptee, and donor-conceived communities. Thank you so much for listening, sharing, and helping make this community what it is today. Have a wonderful summer, and we'll see you in September. Now, on to the show.
I just wanted her to be a mom. I just wanted her to be a mom and let whatever she was holding on to go in sake of our relationship. And she just kept denying. I was actually house sitting for a friend at the time and cat sitting. So I wasn't even the comfort of my own home when I was having such an adverse reaction to this conversation. And I'm begging and crying and pleading, and it didn't faze her. It didn't faze her. And I had such mean things to say to her, but I couldn't. I just couldn't, because that was the beginning of me recognizing that she'll never be the mom that I hope for, that I need, that I want. And she had no desire. She had no desire to, do right by someone else other than herself.
Welcome to DNA Surprises, a podcast that explores the life-altering world of unexpected DNA discoveries. I'm your host, Alexis Auersalt. This show centers the stories of people who've experienced NPEs, or non-paternal events. In other words, people who've learned that their biological father isn't who they thought he was. We'll also hear from adoptees, donor-conceived people, and the families navigating these discoveries. Get ready to follow the incredible journeys that begin with a simple DNA test. This is DNA Surprises. DNA Surprises take time. Time for the secrets to be kept, time for them to be uncovered, and time to connect with newfound family members. So much of this experience is a waiting game. In the season 14 finale of DNA Surprises, Brytanie shares how her difficult upbringing made feeling like an outsider in her family seem normal. She never felt like she belonged, so she never suspected that the man she believed was her biological father wasn't. It wasn't until a DNA test and later a seemingly harmless comment revealed the truth. Thank you for sharing your story, Brytanie.
My name is Brytanie. I am currently 39 years old, and I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but currently in Tennessee. There's going to be a lot of family dynamics to have to keep up with because my mother did not raise me. Her sister did. My aunt finally took me really at 18 months permanently, but I was with her and with other family members pretty much since birth. I was raised with her and her husband and their 5 children, which I was like smack dab in the middle. That was a very hard dynamic in itself, because the aunt who raised me was a very young mother and really just starting her life over when she kind of got stuck with me. So it was a lot of resentment. She was starting over, and as an adult, starting a new family with her new husband. And then here I am to kind of wreck their whole story and dynamic. My aunt had 2 older boys who were teenagers by the time I really came into the picture. So we were really only in the house up until I was 4 or 5 years old, maybe 6, and then they moved out. So then I became the oldest with her 3 younger girls. We all refer to each other as siblings. If I talk about them, they aren't the cousins that I was raised with. Those are my sisters and my brothers, and their families are my nieces and nephews and so forth. But while being raised, their mother, my aunt, made it apparent that she wanted to keep us separate. If we were out in public, it was, oh, these are my 3 beautiful daughters, and this is my niece who lives with me. I developed a complex very young because I was always compared to her children. And then she would always throw it in my face that if I fail, it's because I'm my mother's child. I'm going to turn out just like my mother. And there was never any praise or love or affection from her. It was always criticism, very verbally and mentally abusive, and sometimes physically. She would always take out any kind of anger out on me. Her kids seemed untouchable, and that's what alienated us from each other too.
Did you maintain regular contact with your mom at all during that time, or were you pretty much with your aunt?
Yeah, so my mother was always a part of my life. She would come and visit. I seldomly got night stays with her. It was very rare just because my mother had several men. I can't even count the number of stepfathers. She was married 4 times and has 2 children, me and I actually do have a half sister from her, but I was never raised with her. I was never, I never had a relationship with her because her father kept her and never allowed us to, and it wasn't against me. It was just the fear of how would my mother sneak in and make her way into me and Brookson. So.
Okay. And what did you know of your father?
Oh, so that is where it gets a little crazy. So I was raised knowing a man, Perry, as my father. His story is just so traumatic. He was in the Marine Corps. He got out after 5 years, and while he served, he was a special equipment, hazardous equipment truck driver. So he realized that he could get out and make more money on the outside doing that as a private driver. He was also adopted by a stepfather and never ever knew of his biological family, father's side anyway. He was raised with several, I think he was one of 9 children on the mother's side, but his stepfather was just awful to him, would severely abuse him and cut him down, and it was very bad. So growing up, he always grew up with a chip on his shoulder. So that's what really made him join the Marine Corps, to prove himself. So his 5 years in the military, he came out, was truck driving. Well, in between routes, on the delivery routes, he would come home and bounce at the local bars. He's this very stout Italian, dark skin, dark complexion, dark, everything. And then the Marine Corps in him really, really did keep him visible. You saw this man coming. So he would bounce at local bars, and sadly one night he broke up a fight and they followed him home and left him for dead.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
He had a traumatic brain injury and had to start over. He couldn't feed himself. He couldn't walk. He could barely talk. So he was in years of rehabilitation, which I was just an infant. I was just an infant when that happened. And really, he wasn't stable until I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Did you have any sort of relationship with him?
Sadly, again, this aunt of mine, she is very controlling. She kept me from Perry. And the whole time, her and my mother, they were sisters, but they had zero relationship. They really only were civil and cordial because of me. So they both brainwashed me to think that Perry's traumatic brain injury was that I couldn't be trusted with him. I couldn't be alone with him. He always had ill intentions. Well, he lived like 24 miles away into a different town and would have to hitchhike or walk those 24 miles to spend any time with me. My aunt would hide me from him, or leading up to it, knowing if he was coming, leading up to it, she would get me so just scared of him that I wouldn't visit with him. Come to find out, this man is the most beautiful human, good-hearted, just perfect. He was very present in my life. I just did not get to develop any kind of real feelings for him until I was 18. My whole entire childhood, I just did not I was already the outcast. I was already, placed in this world that wasn't mine. My family, technically they were, but I always felt outside. I felt different. And that entire time I would ask randomly, completely random, starting at probably, 8 years old, saying, whose nose do I have? This Perry gentleman, very dark complected, dark skin, dark eyes. And I'm this, fair white girl with lighter skin, lighter hair, blue eyes. My mother had light eyes, but really kind of more hazel. So, but the nose, I did not have the nose. I always say our last name. And I always say, I don't have the, fill in the blank mouth. There's a distinguished mouth that all that side has. And I said, I don't have that. I don't have the nose. And they would just brush it off. Oh, Brytanie, stop that. Oh, okay. I'm like, you can tell me I'm adopted. It's fine. And they would just, just blow it off and change the subject or tell me I was crazy. Fast forward to, I joined the military. I could not wait 1 second sooner to join and get out of that household. It ended up becoming my proof of self too, to my aunt, saying, you're not going to hold me back, and I am better than who you're trying to make me out to be. So really, I have this parallel with Perry, that just proving myself and joining the military was the answer without even knowing it, So on my birth certificate, it says father unknown.
Did you know?
And we're live on match day as Doug reaches for a buffalo wing. He's got it! Oh, and he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! What a finish! There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi.
Know that, like, growing up, or was that something you discovered when you went to join the military?
It was a revelation to me once I joined, but I did not pay any attention to it until more recent years. So I was overseas with the military in 2016. And since I was over there, the motherland of all immigrants, and, you can find your ancestors overseas. So I did my ancestry and I got them back, and I, very Italian rooted, and I was trying to sightsee places that these relatives of mine came from. But you have to remember, Perry was adopted. So all of these names that weren't on my mother's side could have been his family. So I was not recognizing these names, but it didn't even clue me in because he was adopted.
You were able to dismiss it, or not even dismiss it. You were able to explain it.
Absolutely. Yes. So that was in 2016. I was building my tree on Ancestry, building. And my mother's side goes back to the 1800s. Like, I already knew that. I had seen oil painting portraits of them growing up in my an uncle's house. So like, I knew the surnames from back to the 1800s. In 2018, when I really wanted to dive deep into learning Perry's actual lineage and maybe finding some of his family, uploaded his DNA. Because he was so limited, he does not know how to work a computer. This DNA didn't make any sense to him. A computer, he's never worked, a email or a text or anything. So I made all these accounts as I was him. And when I went to link him and me in Ancestry, it didn't click. It didn't connect. So at this time, I had estranged completely from my mother. So when the Ancestry did not connect Perry and I, that was my first conversation. Get a hold of her. And I said, why is Ancestry not linking Perry and I? Oh, well, I would have no idea. It was just, she was just beside herself. I could never understand that. And I'm like, well, DNA doesn't lie. There's no denying this. There's some kind of mix up. And she just kept on denying. There's no way. And I'm like, this is your chance. I'm asking you, this is your clean slate. I'm an adult, because I was 32 years old. I'm an adult. You're an adult. This is if you want to gain any kind of trust and relationship with me, then you need to get every dark demon out right now. Everything out right now. And I will not judge you. I want to know if it's a possibility of 5 men, 30 men. I just need to know who those possibilities are. And she was adamant, very adamant. No, ma'am. There is no possible way. Perry is the only possibility. And I said, that's just not true. You have to tell me. We ended that conversation with me begging, hyperventilating, bawling, begging her, please tell me the truth. Just please. And no, not at all.
You said you were hyperventilating, asking her for this information. Was it coming from a place of upset about Perry? Was it desperation to know the truth? How were you feeling at that time, and why were you having such a strong reaction, do you think?
My only guess would be that I just wanted her to be a mom. I just wanted her to be a mom and let whatever she was holding on to go in sake of our relationship. And she just kept denying. I was actually house sitting for a friend at the time and cat sitting. So I wasn't even the comfort of my own home when I was having such an adverse reaction to this conversation. And I'm begging and crying and pleading, and it didn't faze her. It didn't faze her. And I had such mean things to say to her, but I couldn't. I just couldn't, because that was the beginning of me recognizing that she'll never be the mom that I hope for, that I need, that I want. And she had no desire. She had no desire to, do right by someone else other than herself.
That's a really hard thing to come to terms with.
And that was always in the back of my mind, but I am so loyal and yearn for family so much that I would dismiss her shortcomings. And she's still my mom, you know. As a teenager, her and I had a very close friendship. And probably in my mind, I did think that was a mother-daughter relationship, but it was not. It was very clearly, she just needed a friend.
Yeah. That unfortunately seems to be a recurring theme around this community, I think. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you don't get any answers from your mom. How do you move forward?
Within a few days, and I was so naive to what was going on. At that time, I was out of the military and in Omaha, Nebraska. So still not able just to run into a family member and ask, you know. Crazy enough, within a few days of that conversation and a few texts back and forth of her still denying and, oh, Brytanie, I'm so sorry. You know, I can't believe this is happening. Her nephew just happened to reach out to me and, Brytanie, haven't heard from you in a while. How's things going? Well, hindsight, I realize now that she had reached out to her brother, his dad, and was like, oh, Brytanie's asking questions. But it did not even occur to me. I really thought a cousin was just reaching out.
We trust people.
We do. Yes, ma'am. So I was like, my goodness, you know, crazy enough, I'm having this interaction with Melissa that it just isn't, something's not right. And he's like, because Roger's your dad. It was just like, oh, it is sunny outside. Roger's your dad. You knew that. And I was like, what? Who's Roger?
That's what I was going to ask. Who's Roger?
I was like, okay, cousin, what do you know about this Roger? And he's like, to be honest, and he's only a few years older than me. He was like 4 or 5 years older than me. He's like, to be honest, I really don't remember much except that he had a really cool purple truck. He had a lifted purple car or truck, some kind of vehicle that he recognized when, you know, this Roger guy would come around. He was always in awe of this vehicle. And he said his last name started with an M and he lives in this area, but that's all I know. I said, well, you got to find more. You got to find out more. I need, you know, I've never heard of this. And so a day or two later, he reaches back out. I asked my parents, and here's his name. And you need to ask all the other aunts and uncles because it seems that my aunt knew this whole time. And I'm like, oh. So my world just continues just to crush and weigh on me. And I'm like, it was like an out of body experience. Like what, who, there was always the secret that I thought I was pretty aware of my surroundings and, you know, dynamics of growing up, but never once did I catch wind of this secret.
Wow. And then you find out that your cousin just knew. Did everyone know?
They absolutely all knew. The aunt who raised me ended up telling me that she worked with his sister and always said how much that I resemble his sister, my aunt.
Wow. Okay, so you find out it's Roger. Mm-hmm. What do you do with that information? Is there anyone that you can talk to get more specifics about who he is? And are you able to connect with him?
Well, I immediately reach out to Melissa. All right, secret's out. Who's Roger? Oh, a guy I dated. Okay, well, I need to know everything about him because clearly everybody thinks that he is my biological father. And she's like, well, it couldn't have been, but this is what I know about him. And she was so nonchalant, like she knew nothing. But crazy enough, she would, in past relationships and with best friends who I still talk to, she would point out at his house, that's Brytanie's real dad's house. This is where Brytanie's dad really lives. Oh, Roger, Brytanie's real father. So all these years that she would tell other people about, but to me, anytime I confronted her, she knew nothing about him and didn't even think for 1 second that he was possible to be my father.
So you call your mom Melissa?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So Melissa, your mom, from what you can tell, from what you're hearing from other people, knew. She knew, she even talked about it. But to you, she's telling you she did not think that. Did she say that she really believed it was Perry?
Yes. Perry was the relationship after Roger. And there was a small breakup, and that's when she went back to Perry, and that's when she ended up pregnant. And then her and Roger ended up breaking up before I was born. So, but Perry, he was ecstatic to have another baby. Just was so in love with my mother. So head over heels in love with my mother. And so he didn't even question it. So reaching out to all these people and finally like getting the secret out that of what I know and trying to find her aunt, she actually texted a picture, a prom photo of Melissa and Roger to a cousin of mine who then sent it to me. Alexis, when I say that I saw myself finally for the first time, it popped up as just the little preview thumbnail on my little tiny iPhone back in 2018 or something. And just seeing him, I was like, that's him. That's me in that photo. I threw my phone. I was like, I can't. Like, it was looking in the mirror and seeing somebody that I resemble. It could have been me.
Wow. So you have this proof in your hand, basically, like this is him. You see yourself.
Yes.
Are you given any contact information or anything? Like, how are you feeling at that point? I guess I should ask, like, do you want to contact him, or how are you feeling about exploring that relationship at this point?
Well, now I have to go back to Ancestry and figure out all these connections, all these matches. Who are they? Is Roger in there? Maybe Roger is in there, you know? So I find his last name in those contacts and I reach out to every one of them. And I said, I don't know who you are to Roger, but here I am. I just found out this was a secret to me. I have no idea one single thing about him, but please tell me what you can about Roger. And one person, which I believe it was like a niece's husband, replied, and he was running her page. He's like, I honestly don't know much about him. He's not very involved with our family. I don't know what to tell you. And I said, well, tell me who to contact so I can find out him, anything I can. So it was several months of me like asking and waiting and him just like, I don't want to be in the middle of this. And I was like, I don't blame you. I understand, but please tell me somebody who is willing, you know. Finally, I came in contact with Roger's sister, and I really forget kind of the beginning stages of it, but we end up texting. The next time I'm home in Pennsylvania, we meet. It was beautiful. So it was his two older sisters, and they had a full feast, and welcomed my family and I just like with open arms and like never batted an eye. This whole time, Roger's mother was alive. This whole time. I get to meet my 95-year-old biological paternal grandmother. And she was just in the middle stages of Alzheimer's. But it was beautiful. She held my son, who was 5 months old at the time. And talk about funny. At 95, she was so sharp and quick and witty and made us laugh. And she would just hold my hand and say, you know, I'm so glad to have met you. You know, I could have died happy at that time because I had my grandma and I could see what a bright spirit and, you know, beautiful human she was. But thankfully, she did live for a few more years. And anytime I would go back to Pennsylvania, I did get to spend time with her.
Wow. So you connect with your grandmother, connect with your aunts.
Yes.
Do you meet anyone else from the family?
So I immediately started writing to Roger as soon as I found out about him. Within a few weeks, maybe month of getting that picture of him, I did a side-by-side like photo of him and I will have to send it to you to show you like the resemblance. And I was like, sorry, there's no denying it. I'm just learning about you. Here's a very, short snapshot of my life. I joined the military. I'm an upstanding human. I promise. I have no ill intentions. I don't need anything. I am just finding out about you. Medical, at the very least medical, please. And it went unanswered. I started sending, that was in 2018. So 2021, when I had my first baby, I sent photos and I said, here's an update. Maybe this will entice him, in my mind, maybe this will entice him to develop some kind of communication with me because he has a grandbaby. Because him and his wife never had babies, never had any children of their own. So I'm his only child.
Do you have any indication of why Roger wouldn't respond? Or, because it's fascinating to me when other family members are open, but then the father is not. Did his family give you any insight?
They did tell me that it would be a very far stretch to think that he would reach out. They also did say that if they had known about me, especially when their father was alive, that there would be no question I would have been with that family. There would have been his parents would have absolutely made him be involved. But come to find out, my mother just was so nasty and mean to him and then his new relationship that he's just like scared. I did this again in 2024. I had another baby. I reached out again. Here's another baby of mine. She looks just like me, i.e. you. And I would love to, connect if you're willing. And still nothing. And during that time, sometime he told his sisters to tell me, no, stop reaching out, leave him alone. But I wouldn't. I couldn't. I just could not. I wanted him to tell me. Fast forward 2025, I'm home in Pennsylvania. And me and my family are actually on the way to his sisters for a lunch, meeting a new cousin and his family. So excited. It was kind of a bittersweet visit because in that visit, Perry had passed away. So I was mourning the one father who would have done, and he did. He had nothing. He had nothing and did everything he could in his means for me. and wanted me, and he passed away. So here I am on the flip side now, like begging this other man who is my relation to want me. And so crazy enough, we're driving and I'm on my phone just dilly-dallying, and I look up to my husband and I was like, hey, aren't we coming up on Roger's house? And he's like, yeah, it's like right around, it's coming up. I'm like, pull in. And he's like, Brytanie. And I said, pull in. And he's like, are you sure? I said, absolutely. Just do it. Just do it. I have nothing to lose. I want this man to see me, and I want the chance to spill my heart out to him and promise him and hope that he can trust that I have no ill intentions. We drive by and I was like, never mind, go. And we continue going. So I called his sister and I said, hey, we just passed Roger's house. What would he do if I stopped? And she said, I don't know, Brytanie. She said, don't get your hopes up. That's totally up to you. I said, all right. And I said, I was just so down about Perry. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle the rejection right now. Let's not. Then all of a sudden I get a text message from Susan, the aunt I just got off the phone with. And she said, Uncle Jim, her husband, said, do it. Do it. I said, all right. And I turned around and we pulled in. I went up to that house, knocked on the door, rang the doorbell, nothing. And I was like, I know they're home. Their vehicles are right there. I know they're home. So I just kind of stood there and I was like, I don't know if there's cameras out here, but obviously you know who I am. Can we please speak? And then all of a sudden the door opened and it was his wife, and very hard demeanor came out. Why are you here? Very just dismissive, very annoyed. And I said, I want to know why. Just tell me why he doesn't want me. Why does he want to know my family? This is not my fault. I was a baby. And I said, to be honest, I have the most beautiful babies out in that truck and I want to share with him. And her demeanor just kept like changing and changing and changing. And she said, look, he's in the middle of physical therapy. He's not coming out right now. I'll tell him you're here and we'll see. And I said, all right, my number has not changed because and I have never changed my phone number from when I left Pennsylvania, 19 years prior to this. So just in case somebody like him had it and wanted to get a hold of me. That was in June of 2025. October is me and my daughter's birthday. And then November 2nd is my son's. His wife reaches out through text. I was so excited. She's like, I just want to wish you a happy birthday. Roger has no idea this is happening. So please keep this between us. I will do my everything to be the bridge for you and him. Please trust me. I can tell you're a good human. You're a beautiful soul. Your children are amazing. I want to get to know you and I will do what I can on his side. So that has been now our relationship. Me and her text more and more frequent and send photos and laugh and cry through text. And her and I happen to have a very similar childhood. So we have that bond. As of yesterday, new revelation, as of yesterday, because I finally said, like, I'm trying to come home to Pennsylvania in the next few months. Like, are we able to start working towards me a visit? And she said, okay, this is how we have to approach this. She's like, write us a letter, say that exact thing. Don't mention that we've been texting, and just, say maybe that texting and phone calls can get us to a place of, where we could meet. So She received the letter yesterday and wrote to me and said, he's game. He's game. He's in.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I'm so, wow, you've been so patient. I'm so happy for you.
And this was my last attempt. I'm not going to keep putting my babies out there for them. But in our conversation, she's made it clear that she's always wanted babies and so happy for our relationship. And that she really has been surprised herself with his reactions, even though they're slow. She said, just please be patient. And he's growing to trust this.
So what is your next step? Like, is he going to reach out to you? Or are you going to reach out to him?
So since it was just yesterday, me and her are just kind of coming up with a game plan about her first text to me to open up that, first line of communication. But yeah, both her and I are in high hopes that by the time I go in June or July is the next one that we kind of tentatively have planned. But we definitely are going home in September, that we get to meet.
Wow.
I have, goosebumps right now just thinking that maybe I could be one of those very rare stories that, hopefully we can develop something. She did say, she's like, please, not to be mean, but don't expect the title of dad. And I said, I don't need it. I just want some more people, more family to love my babies. That's all I need.
Do you think that he really knew about you, like fully knew, or did he think that you were Perry's?
She very explicitly explained that for the first year during the pregnancy and first year of my life, that he reached out several times to Melissa asking, is this baby mine? Is this baby mine? I need to know if this baby is mine. And in spite, she would say, no, I would never have a baby with you. It's not your child. Or then in the next breath, she would say, you're such a bad dad. You have nothing to do with your daughter. How dare you? And that's why he is being so hesitant with me, is because he doesn't, that trauma with her for, 9 months of pregnancy, a year of life, 2 years straight of her just messing with him. She would find them in public and harass them and look at him. He has ditched his baby. He's a bad father. Make a huge spectacle out of him.
I guess what's striking me right now is a lot of times we do think about ourselves in these situations and what we need, but thinking about maybe what Roger experienced and some of his experiences of maybe feeling burned or feeling rejected on his side maybe made him hesitant. And maybe it's important for us to keep in mind what the other parties are going through when we reach out and hope to have these relationships. And that, sometimes it might take time.
Yes.
Wow.
So 8 years now, 8 years from my first letter to him. And here we are. I don't know how I did it because I'm the most impatient person on this earth. And,
I don't know how you did it either. That is some patience, but it goes to show truly things can change. Anything can happen.
And really, I know the motivation was my babies. And because I kind of gave up and was okay with his family, his sisters and that part of the family. But when I started having my babies, I wanted to do everything. I was able to say, I did everything to have your grandparents in your life. It weighs so very heavy on me because now I am the liar. I never told Perry while he was alive, which it wouldn't have made any difference. But because of his brain injury, he almost likely would have forgot about it very quickly anyway. But I refuse to tell his son, who I have the most beautiful brother-sister relationship with, in absolute fear to change anything about me and his dynamics and his family. But I go home and I visit with them and they call me auntie and we talk about family traits and all this. And it's like, it's not true. We're not related. And I can't even believe we're not related because him and I are so much alike. I'm like, there's no way that you and I did not come from the same seed, like.
Do you think it's something that you will tell him eventually?
I have just recently decided that the next time I'm home that I have to get it off my chest. It weighs way too heavy on me and I don't want it to continue that I knew. And then if he ever does find out otherwise that so the next time I'm with him, I do plan on getting him alone and having that conversation.
Good luck with that. But I get it that holding on to secrets, as we hear on the podcast all the time, it is a lot to carry.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for a parent who is keeping a DNA surprise from their child?
Please, there's no right time. There's never going to be the perfect timing for any kind of secret like this to come out, but just let the child start processing and developing as soon as they can. I mean, as soon as they can. That's all I have. And to be honest, another great thing that I have, I hoped for was the people that did know, reach out and check on these children that are learning this, because they were all quick to tell me that, the secret they knew about all these years, but I can count on one hand, that amount of people or times that they have are you okay? Is everything, working out? So it makes you just feel that much lonelier and, alienated.
What advice do you have for someone who just uncovered a DNA surprise?
Don't let this define you. So many people, and it's going to happen more and more often that this happens to people. It doesn't define you. Your circumstances have changed, but it doesn't change who you are. And I get it. I feel like a whole different person. I don't know who I was. I still kind of, suffer from a little bit of identity, self-identity, and who am I and who would I have been. Use it to motivate you to change and break the cycle and be a better parent, family member, advocate for other people going through this.
Brytanie, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and sharing your story. It has been such a long process for you, but I'm so happy to hear the twist at the end about Roger kind of, coming around. I hope it moves in a positive direction. And yeah, I wish you the best. Please stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alexis.
Thanks again to Brytanie for sharing her story. If you have a DNA surprise that you'd like to share, please submit your story at dnasurprises.com. For early, ad-free access to episodes, join me over on Patreon at patreon.com/DNAsurprises. That's a wrap on season 14. We'll be back in September. Until next time. DNA Surprises is hosted, produced, and edited by me, Alexis Auersalt. It is mixed and mastered by Josh Auersalt of Siren Recording Studios.